Early-stage Russian vodka distillery 19th century tea. The origins of vodka are shrouded in mystery. Several nations, including Russians, Poles, Ukrainians, Finns, claim paternity of the drink. Both Russia and Poland boast a long tradition of preparing the most coveted alcohol in Northern and Eastern Europe. However, the name comes from the diminutive of the Slavic word voda, which means water, inspired by the Latin aqua vitae, which meant all the strong drinks in the Middle Ages. A Slavic tradition, so it is assumed that the type of alcohol comes from the Slavic peoples who occupied northeastern Europe. The low temperatures made it difficult to trade wine and beer because they were freezing in the winter months. In the beginning, by the 12th century, vodka was used as an anesthetic and disinfectant, being distilled from rye. Only 2 centuries later, the poisonous effects of excess are discovered. Since 1300 it is produced for consumption. The drink was believed to have a spirit of its own, which is why it was used at religious ceremonies. From hand to hand passed a vessel that sometimes contained more than 4 liters of vodka, and those who did not consume were considered unbelievers. Late medieval distillery circa the 15th century. As its popularity increases, vodka is no longer distilled from rye, but from potatoes. The potato was much more common and easier to process than cereals. But as vodka begins to lose its status as a homemade product, the potato is no longer used. Today, most brands of vodka have rye, wheat, barley, and most often corn. Alcohol overdose. Eastern and Northern Europe took the problem of alcohol very seriously. In 988, the Prince of Kiev Vladimir decided to abandon the pagan path and switch to monotheism. He rejects Judaism because the Jews did not control any territory. He rejects Islam because alcohol was prohibited. However, when he finds out that even Christians are required to eat during the rites, the argument seems to be enough to choose Christianity. Did the Russians produce the first drink? Maybe, but they find out from the Genoese merchants, who bring the big Dmitry Donskoy with some aqua vitae to Moscow, for treatment. Isidore from Kiev 1385 to 1463. Legend had it that in 1430 the monk Isidore from the Chudov monastery invented the first Russian vodka recipe, known as bread wine, because it was distilled from wheat. The drink falls under the imperial monopoly, which can only be produced by the Tsar and the boyars. Ivan the Terrible opens in 1533 the first kabak, the only place where the average man could obtain his strength. For centuries the country controls the production, the taxes filling about 40% of the state's clothing. The access of all drinks dates back to the 19th century. The Bolsheviks nationalized distilleries, which causes the old producers to flee to the west, the most famous being Smirnoff, which revitalizes its business in Paris. The communists quickly resumed production due to the huge demand, but the quality of the drink decreased. Gorbachev tries to apply perestroika in the field of alcohol, but this ban also fails. Russian historians advance even the 9th century as the beginning of vodka production, but distillation can only be at least 2 centuries later, when distillation is attempted in Kinovska. Different methods of distillation. We could say that the distillation techniques evolved between the XII 15 centuries, when the honey starts to be used to improve the taste of the drink. In the 18th century, it took advantage of the properties of coal to filter the mixture to get rid of unwanted ingredients, but the spirit had to be diluted before filtering. The distillation improves with the introduction of various herbs and spices. Despite other varieties of vodka that the Russians get to know, for a long time everything based on rye had the highest appreciation. Russian vodka laboratory. But the Poles also have a tradition of their own. Since the 8th century, strong alcohol is discovered when the wine freezes in winter, but the solution is used only for treatments. This is until the 15th century, when gorzalka was produced, alcoholic wine, as a result of the distillation of the spirit of the wine. Polish historians claim that vodka was first produced in 1405 in Poland and only later in Russia. Until the 16th century, King Obricht of Poland allowed the sale of alcohol. Later, in 1572, he limited the production, levying a tax of 10%. Only in the 17th century, however, vodka became a national drink, and distillation techniques advanced. In any case, the origins and exact history of vodka are far from certain. There are indications that it might come from Persia. Dmitry Mendeleev, source, Wikimedia Commons. Vodka is probably the most popular hard drink in the world. The alcohol concentration ranges from 35% to 50%. Classic, Russian, Lithuanian or Polish vodka had 40% concentration, which is in accordance with the Russian standards for the production of the drink, introduced in 1894 by Alexander III. Chemist Dmitry Mendeleev had established that the optimum strength ratio for vodka is 38% alcohol. Although simple vodka is only popular in Eastern and Northern Europe, the product is used worldwide for cocktail preparation. There is no uniform classification of vodka. In Poland, vodka is labeled according to the degree of purity: standard, zwykły, premium, wyborowy, and deluxe, luksusowy. In Russia, vodka labeled Osobaya is generally a quality product that can be exported, while krepkaya denotes a drink of at least 56% alcohol. Even to this day, the alcohol industry comes up with new drinks that are considered a subclass to vodka in its own category, as the drink seems to be too simplistic whilst bearing such a large spam history.